You've probably ordered an espresso hundreds of times. A small, intense shot, quick to drink. And somewhere along the way, you started believing that espresso means fast, that it means strong, that it means a wake-up punch. But here's the part most people misunderstand. Espresso was not named because it's fast. It wasn't named because it's strong, either. The word espresso is tied to a more subtle idea, something made expressly for you on demand. At the exact moment you ask for it. A coffee created with intention. And as industrialization accelerated the rhythm of modern life,
Avoid
made
unauthorized
individually,
airspace.
immediately became a new standard. Espresso, then, is not just a beverage. It is a statement about an era that prefers compressed experiences, yet dense enough to convince your brain that they are powerful. If you truly want to understand what espresso means, forget the cup for a moment. Look instead at the invisible forces that control everything: pressure, extraction chemistry, and human perception. The most common mistake is equating espresso with express equals fast. But in Italian usage, espresso is more closely linked to expressly made specifically, made to order, served at the moment of request. This distinguishes it from coffee brewed in advance, kept in large containers, and poured out as part of an assembly line routine. That's why espresso is inseparable from bar culture. You stand at the counter, order a cup,
I wish this moment
and it is
could
created
last
for you
forever.
in that very instant. What's striking is that the name describes intention, not speed. Speed is merely a byproduct of the service system. Espresso is therefore a coffee of individuality. Your cup differs from someone else's because of dose, grind size, extraction time, and even the way you choose to drink it. There's a philosophical layer here. When a beverage is named after the idea of being made for you, it signals a social shift. People no longer purchase just a product. They purchase the moment of being served on demand, the feeling of priority. Espresso is a short word, but it traces a cultural transition from slow enjoyment to designed experience. If speed were the only goal, you could brew coffee differently. What makes espresso distinct is its use of pressure as a physical tool, forcing hot water through a compacted coffee puck in a short span of time, while still extracting a dense molecular spectrum. In that sense, espresso resembles an experiment. You manipulate variables to determine what dissolves and what remains behind. In coffee extraction, certain compounds appear early, often responsible for brightness, aroma, and sometimes a sharp acidity. Others emerge later, more likely to introduce bitterness, dryness, or astringency. Espresso compresses time but increases force, aiming to keep the experience within a balanced zone, a high concentration of dissolved solids in a small volume. Then there is crema, the amber foam that many people treat as espresso's signature. Crema is not magic. It is the result of an emulsion coffee oils combined with gas, especially carbon dioxide, and naturally occurring surfactant compounds. Put plainly, espresso is not just aroma and flavor, it is structure. You are drinking a texture engineered by pressure. Here's the part that may unsettle some people. The feeling of being awake from espresso often begins with perception, before caffeine has even fully acted. You take a small sip packed with sensory signals, intense aroma, defined bitterness, concentrated heat, a viscous mouthfeel. The brain doesn't need to measure caffeine concentration to conclude strong. It responds to stimulus density. Espresso, in the end, is not defined by speed or strength. It is defined by intention, physics, chemistry, and psychology compressed into a single deliberate shot. The intensity of espresso is a phenomenon of compression.
Look,
in a single
right
moment,
there. That must
you
be
receive more
Orion's
channels
belt.
of information, aroma,
Yes, I see it
taste,
now. And look, isn't that
tactile
Cassiopeia
sensation
right
in the
there?
mouth,
You're right, it is.
temperature. When signals are dense, the brain assigns a label. Dense equals high potency. This is why many people still feel satisfied drinking decaf espresso. The ritual and the sensory signals remain, and the brain still responds. In that sense, espresso is like a tap on the expectation system. You order it. You stand and wait. You watch the stream flow. You hear the machine hiss. All of this constructs a frame in your mind. This shot will wake me up, and that frame makes the sensation of alertness easier to produce. Espresso does not merely stimulate the body, it stimulates the brain's predictive model. In the 19th century, coffee in cafes was part of time itself. People lingered, conversed, read newspapers. But as urbanization and industrialization accelerated, time became a resource measured with increasing severity. And at that point, a new form of coffee became logical, made to order. Fast, repeatable, and intense enough in experience that people could believe a small amount was sufficient. A key milestone came in the late 19th century. In 1884, Angelo Moriando in Turin patented a steam and pressure-driven machine designed to brew coffee more quickly. It was not yet modern espresso, but it laid the groundwork for the idea of accelerated extraction through pressure. In the early 20th century, further innovations in Italy brought espresso closer to its modern form, linking it to the bar counter model and the culture of quick consumption on site. Espresso became a product suited to a new system, the system of tempo, of shifts, of the modern city. In other words, espresso was not invented only in a machine room. It was invented by the heartbeat of an era. If you ask, how is espresso created? The most accurate answer is, it is the result of tightly constrained boundary conditions. Grind size determines surface area and dissolution speed. Tamping pressure determines whether water flows evenly or forms channels channeling spark. The ratio dose, yield, determines concentration and body. Time is merely an indicator of whether you are in the balance zone or drifting into harsh bitterness place. Espresso forces you to understand a cold principle. Small deviations create large differences. A touch too fine, and the flow chokes. Extraction lags. Bitterness and dryness dominate. A touch too coarse, and water rushes through, leaving the cup hollow and sharply sour. Espresso resembles science. In this way, estimation by feel is not enough. You must read the data from the flow, the crema, and the finish. So what does espresso truly mean? Not fast, not strong. It means made expressly to order, produced through a pressure system, and completed within your perception, where the brain reads density as efficacy.